So a big theme that you might be picking up now on my channel has been that lead guitar consists of three elements: scales, intervals, and arpeggios. Those three elements are how we visualize the fretboard. When you add chords, and I encourage people to think of chords within the framework of a caged system, you have the entire fretboard. But we're just talking about lead guitar right now. So that opening sequence that you heard me playing, I'm trying to put together scales, intervals, and arpeggios in my own brew or recipe. And that's part of my learning and my exploration as a guitar student, because you never stop learning, is to find new ways, or at least new ways for me, to put those things together. So this video is really about some thoughts I have on putting them together and just tying up some loose ends on scales, intervals, and arpeggios. I've done videos on all these subjects. I've done a video called Scales for Starters that basically, just to rehash, says that everything, at least 95% of what we play, can boil down to learning the diatonic and the pentatonic scale. That's most of what you need to learn. Yeah, there are other minor scales. All the modes are inside of the diatonic scale. Yeah, there are scales like whole tone scale and the Neapolitan scale, or the half whole, diminished, etc. But diatonic and pentatonic really cover most stuff. In fact, you could get away with just those two scales all your musical life, depending upon what styles of music you want to play. And you know, my last video was on intervals, and I taught you how to play intervals within keys. And then of course we did arpeggios. The best way to play arpeggios, again, everything you play actually, scales also, in keys. So the number system, as well as music theory, which I haven't done any videos on music theory specifically yet, but music theory is going to help you to know what key you're in. I did a video on how to play by ear, which helps you determine how to figure out what key a song's in if you don't have the sheet music or don't already know. And once you know what key you're in, then you know, let's say if I'm in a key of E major, then I know that I can play that E major scale. I know I can play E major pentatonic. I can play F sharp minor pentatonic. I can play G sharp minor pentatonic, etc. Okay, and then I know I can play, you know, thirds. I know how to play those in E major, whether they're together like that or they're separate. I'm breaking them apart now, broken thirds, descending. So, oh, and then I can also kind of just play intervals more, you know, with more space and less methodical, like here's a fifth, and then jump into the 10, and then jump into the 6, 7. A lot of these really wide ones sound kind of odd and jazzy. So I say, you know, it depends what effect you want, but if you want to use them more sparingly, you might do a jump here, and then a lot of close notes, jump. I like that, it's a melody. So that could be a song. So yeah, usually you're going to want to be careful about your wider intervallic jumps, but everything I'm describing is lead guitar on the fretboard and finding your own way to combine scales, intervals, and arpeggios, finding your own ways to, like how much percentage of your leads is using of each is going to determine how, it's going to, your signature, your identity. So that's the fretboard, scales, intervals, arpeggios for lead guitar. And then we get into technique. You talk about picking, hammer-on pull-offs, tapping, bends, harmonics, economy picking, sweep picking, etc. Muting. All that is technique, and it's how we physically execute those things. And that's important as well. Above that gets into telling our head how to play things. Music theory tells our head how to play them. It tells us which scales, intervals, and arpeggios we can play. So if I know I'm in a key of E major, I know there's 4 sharps. That's what music theory tells me. It's F sharp, G sharp, C sharp, and D sharp in the key of E major. I know what modes I can pull in and if I want, or what bebop scales I might try to throw in, or chord substitutes. I know the number system, which is really part of music theory, and that can tell me which arpeggios I can project over the song and which ones are going to work. So music theory helps you figure out more specifics on which scales, intervals, and arpeggios to use, how to play them within the keys. Also, you have ear training or having a good ear. And if I had to choose between theory and ear, I'd say give me ear all day. But ideally, I think of both of these as informing us as to how to figure out which scales, intervals, and arpeggios to use. The ear is going to hear it, and you could have really strong ear and not know your music theory, and you'd be more of a savant to be like that and be able to decipher and figure out what to play. And there's a lot of great musicians who have a great ear and don't know a lot of music theory and can play what they want, and they can't necessarily communicate what they're playing to others as easily, because as soon as you do that, you have to use language, and music theory is a language. But your music theory and your ear are helping tell us the how, telling our head how to play scales, intervals, and arpeggios, where the technique is telling our physical body how, our fingers and our hands, how to play them. Above that is something that's really more nebulous, and it's hard for me to define, but I think of it as maybe artistry, creativity, musical intuition, feel. And the thing I'll say about this is there are 4 stages of learning: unconscious incompetency, conscious incompetency, conscious competency, and unconscious competency. And at that third level, conscious competency, you can do something, you've learned how to do it, but you have to think about it. You have to think about that scale because you just learned it yesterday. You want to keep practicing through repetition until it becomes something you can do naturally without thinking, and that's when you get to unconscious competency. It's kind of like when we first learned to ride a bicycle as kids. We might have to think about, right foot, left foot, and the brakes, etc., and think about balance. And then when you become better at it, it becomes second nature, and you don't have to think about it anymore. That's always what we're trying to develop as we practice the guitar, is to get to that point where it becomes so natural that now our playing can follow our feelings. And I'm really trying to advance here where I would be able to have better ideas, frankly, and be more expressive. And that's a challenge for me, and I probably overthink it. I need to maybe overfeel it. It's probably not something to analyze as much, but like turning on a spigot or just being a receiver, or maybe being, maybe when we practice the guitar and learn music, it's more like practicing to be a good surfer, and then you're waiting for the wave to come, but you can't control the wave. And the wave is that maybe analogous to creativity and artistry. But I don't know. Maybe it's my own insecurity. I just feel like a lot of other guitarists or musicians have that better than I do, and that feels like a weakness to me, but maybe I'm wrong there. But those are the elements. That's kind of the hierarchy, if you will, not just the lead guitar, but dare I say, of being a good musician. So those are the things I think you want to tackle. So I hope you found this useful. If you like the content of my video, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. I want to get those numbers up so I can justify doing more content. Got more things planned. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it.